Myself, Dr. Susankar Gogoi. Today I'm going to deliver a lecture and also going to present before you an important topic called Introduction on Foreign Policy. Before we talk about some of the important dimensions and concepts on foreign policy, let us first answer this question. What is foreign policy? In totality, a state's foreign policy has been considered as the dealings with the external environment. Foreign policy is more than the collection of official documents, formal records of actions, and public statements. It is very important to understand that no country is to be considered as self-sufficient. For that matter, the country needs to depend on the neighboring countries for the necessity commodities which could fulfill the national interests of the country. Hence, in modern times, no state can avoid involvement in the international sphere. The principles and the purpose of a state is reflected in its foreign policy. The importance of the foreign policy has hence been considered as one of the important mechanisms by which a country not only can collect the official informations about how the other country perceives towards their own, but also can prepare course of action towards them by which they can fulfill the national interests of the country. Now, let us answer this question. Why foreign policy is important for a state? As I have said already, that no country can remain self-sufficient and can remain in an international isolation. Hence, each of the country has to depend on each other for the fulfillment of desired goals and responsibilities. To answer this question, we have to talk about five important indeed S. The first S is to maintain status quo. The second S is security and sovereignty. Thirdly, secure national interest. Fourth, sphere of influence. Fifth, strengthen economic tie-up. Now, let us discuss about these 5 S which shows the importance of foreign policy for a state. The first one is to maintain the status quo. As you all know, every country wants to be respected, want to be recognized as one of the superior powers, having the authority and legitimacy not only over the people living in the nation, but also to get that recognition of a legitimate state from the neighboring communities. Therefore, to maintain the status quo of a nation as an independent and sovereign country, it is very much omnipotent to develop a desired foreign policy by which they can get that desired recognition from the neighboring countries. The second one is security and sovereignty. From a traditional point of view, foreign policy has been considered as that mechanism by which the country can secure its security and sovereignty. It is very interesting to note that the security and sovereignty of a country, although it is a matter of an internal environment, but it largely depends on the external environment and external threats. A country's security and sovereignty hence dependent on the perception of the neighboring country towards them. So to maintain the independence of a country, they have to develop certain foreign policy by which they can have a friendly, cooperative and collaborative relationship with the immediate neighbors in general and also with the other countries in particular. Third one is to secure national interest. As you all know, a country's national interest is a prime goal, and the idea of national interest keeps changing. One of the primary national interests of a country is to protect its sovereignty. Only a successful foreign policy can secure the national interests of the country. It is hence to be mentioned that to secure the national interests, we need to have a proper, defined and rational foreign policy making. The fourth one is sphere of influence. As you all know, every country tries to be recognized, to be respected by the neighboring country, and in international relationship, every country tries to dominate and also to increase their sphere of influence over the country who are associated with them or sharing the same geopolitical space. For example, we can talk about the Cold War, when United States of America and USSR both were trying to increase their sphere of influence, and as an outcome, the Cold War had happened. Therefore, a sphere of influence is that goal by which a country can get the desired importance in the global or in the global connections, and it can be only achieved through a successful foreign policy. Last but not the least, the fourth important goal of a foreign policy for a state is to strengthen the economic tie-up. Like I have said, the development of every state system is not happen at the same time. It is important to notice that because of the necessity and the internal environment of a country has progressed, developed themselves into different regimes. That is why we have divided the entire world system into three broad categories of state system as first world, second world and third world. It is important to note that the third world country, more specifically, have to depend on the first world and second world countries for their overall development. And economy and capital has been considered as both important for the development of a nation. Therefore, to strengthen the economy of a country, they have to develop some kind of a tie-up with the countries nearby. And it is only possible through a foreign policy. Now, let us take some important definitions on foreign policy. Professor Taylor said that foreign policy of a sort which will go on so long as our sovereign states. George Medelsky said that foreign policy is a systematic activities evolved by communities for changing the behavior of other states, for adjusting their own activities in an international environment. Professor Joseph Frankel said that foreign policy consists of decisions and actions which involves, to some appreciable extent, relations between state and others. From these definitions, we may draw a conclusion that foreign policy has been considered as that activity by which the country can change the perception of the other country towards them in one hand, and in another, they can also involve in some kind of a possible relationship with the neighboring country, by which both of the countries could have been interconnected and also could have been benefited in the matters associated with finance, cultural, political, and also security perspective. That's all for today. So you are watching to e-Politica. Do subscribe, share the channel among your friends, colleagues, and students. And for any query, please feel free to write me at gogoi.susang@gmail.com. With that, I'm signing off today. Stay home, stay safe. Jai Hind.